Saturday morning, 1974. The smell hits you before you even open the door. That mixture of hair tonic, aftershave, and something else. Something masculine. Something sacred. You push open that door with the little bell that rings, and suddenly you're in a different world. A world where men talk like men. Where secrets get shared. Where truth gets spoken. But here's what you need to understand. If you recorded what was said in that barbershop and played it today, every man in there would lose his job, his reputation, his life as he knows it. I'm about to tell you what really got discussed when black men gathered in barbershops in the 1970s. And I'm warning you, some of this is going to make you uncomfortable. Not because it was right, but because it shows you how much has changed, and maybe how much we've lost along with what we've gained. But I can't tell you everything. Some of it dies in the barbershop. That's the code. Close your eyes. Walk in with me. The floor is black and white checkered linoleum, worn down in spots from 40 years of feet shuffling, pacing, standing. 3 barber chairs, the old school kind with the hydraulic pumps and the leather that creaks when you sit down. Each chair is occupied. Each barber is working. The scissors make that metallic snip-snip sound. The clippers buzz low and constant. Magazine rack in the corner. Ebony, Jet, Sports Illustrated, all dog-eared and months old. Nobody's reading them. Everyone's listening. 5, 6 men waiting, sitting in the plastic chairs along the wall. Not looking at their phones. Phones don't exist yet. Just sitting, watching, listening, occasionally jumping into the conversation. This is their Saturday ritual. Some of them don't even need haircuts. They just come to be here, to be part of this. The barbershop is warm, too warm. The front window shows the street outside, but nobody's watching the street. Everyone's watching each other, reading the room, knowing when to speak, knowing when to stay quiet. And in the back corner, there's one old man, always there. Nobody remembers his name, but everyone knows his face. He doesn't say much, but when he does, everyone listens. Here's the first rule of the barbershop. What's said here stays here. And I mean that. You could hear things in that barbershop that would change how you saw your neighbor, your pastor, your father. But you never repeated it. Ever. That was sacred law. Men came here to drop their masks. The mask they wore at work around white bosses. The mask they wore at church around judgmental deacons. Even the mask they wore at home around wives and children. In the barbershop, just men. Just truth. Just whatever needed to be said. But what exactly got said? That's where it gets complicated. Because some of it was wisdom. Some of it was pain. Some of it was, let's just say it wouldn't survive 5 minutes on social media today. Let me start with the safest stuff. The stuff I can actually tell you about. Politics. They talked politics like you wouldn't believe. Not the sanitized, carefully worded politics you see on TV. Raw politics. Real politics. Who was really running the city? Which politicians were in whose pocket? Which white business owners would actually hire black folks, and which ones smiled to your face, then locked the door? The Vietnam War. You'd have veterans in there, fresh back from the jungle, and they'd talk about what really happened over there. Not the news version, the truth version. And the older men, the ones who fought in World War II and Korea, They'd chime in with their stories. The racism they faced in the military. How they fought for a country that wouldn't let them drink from certain water fountains when they got home. Jobs. Always jobs. Who was hiring? Who was firing? Which factories treated black workers right and which ones worked them like mules? Men would share information. Don't go to that plant on 5th Street. The foreman's a racist. Try the warehouse on Madison. The owner's cool. But that's the surface stuff. That's the conversations anyone could have. What I'm dancing around, what I'm building up to, is what you really want to know. What got said that would get you canceled today? See, here's my problem. I can't actually tell you some of it. Not because I'm scared, but because some things, they need to stay in 1974 where they belong. The world's different now, and not everything from back then deserves to be preserved. But I'll tell you this much. Attitudes about women got discussed that would make your head spin today. Not all men, not all the time, but enough that if you were a woman walking past that barbershop window, you might hear something that would make you never want to speak to any of those men again. How do I know? Because sometimes women did walk past, and sometimes they did hear, and sometimes there'd be hell to pay at home that night. It's just barbershop talk, men would say, as if that made it okay, as if this sacred male space gave them permission to say things they'd never say out loud anywhere else. And here's what makes it complicated. Some of those same men went home and loved their wives, raised their daughters to be strong, worked 2 jobs to send their kids to college. Good men, flawed men, products of their time. I'm standing at a crossroads here, trying to figure out how much to tell you, because I remember those conversations. I was young, but I remember sitting quiet in the corner while the men talked, learning what men talk about when women aren't around, absorbing it all. And some of it was beautiful. The way older men mentored younger ones. Look, young brother, let me tell you how to handle that boss of yours. Let me tell you about women, real talk, not that stuff you see in movies. Let me tell you how to survive in this world that wasn't built for us. That wisdom, that mentorship, that community knowledge getting passed down. That's what we lost when barbershops changed, when everything became politically correct, when men became afraid to speak freely because you never knew who was recording, who was listening, who might repeat something out of context. But some of what got said, honestly, good riddance. The world is better without it. The casual homophobia, the machismo that confused strength with cruelty, the attitude that feelings were weakness and vulnerability was shame. There was one Saturday, I remember this clear as day, when a man came in and told everyone his son had just come out as gay. This was 1976, and the barbershop went quiet. So quiet you could hear the traffic outside. Everyone looked at everyone else. Nobody knew what to say. What happened next? I can't tell you exactly what was said, but I can tell you that man left that barbershop with advice, with opinions, with reactions that ranged from compassion to disgust, sometimes from the same person in the same breath. Today, that conversation would be recorded, dissected, quoted out of context, and every man in that shop would be labeled, canceled, destroyed. But here's what you wouldn't see in the headlines. How after that man left, the barber, Old Joe everyone called him, said something I'll never forget. That's still his son, and a man stands by his son. Whatever else is true, that's true first. And every head in that shop nodded. Was it perfect acceptance? No. Was it enlightened by 2025 standards? Hell no. But it was human. It was real. It was men working through difficult things in real time, without a script, without knowing what the right answer was supposed to be. The barbershop had this smell. I mentioned it before, but it was more than just hair tonic and aftershave. It smelled like honesty, like the kind of truth that only comes out when men feel safe, when they trust each other, when they know nothing leaves these walls. You could feel it in the air, the way everyone relaxed a little bit. Shoulders dropped, voices got deeper, more natural. Laughter came easier. Even anger, when it came up, felt more honest, more earned. I remember the sound of it. Not just the scissors and clippers, but the rhythm of conversation. The way old Joe would tell a story and everyone would lean in. The way someone would crack a joke and the whole shop would erupt. The way serious topics would descend like a curtain and everyone would get quiet and thoughtful. That atmosphere? You can't recreate it. I've been in modern barbershops and they're not the same. Everyone's on their phones. Everyone's careful about what they say. The barber might have a camera for his Instagram. That freedom to be fully, messily human, it's gone. So here's the question I keep asking myself. Are we better off now? With our sensitivity, our awareness, our accountability, our cancel culture? Or did we lose something valuable when we made it impossible for men to have spaces where they could talk without filters? And before you answer, before you rush to judgment one way or the other, let me complicate it further. Some of what got said in that barbershop was wrong, objectively wrong, harmful, perpetuating stereotypes and prejudices that damaged people, including the men saying them. But some of what got said was wisdom that young men desperately needed to hear. Real talk about navigating a racist world, about standing up for yourself, about providing for family, about processing pain and fear and anger in healthy ways. When we killed the barbershop as a sacred male space, we killed both, the poison and the medicine. And I'm not sure we've replaced it with anything better. Young black men today, where do they go for that kind of mentorship? That kind of raw, unfiltered truth? That kind of community wisdom? The internet? Please. Social media, where everyone's performing for an audience? Where every word might be screenshot and used against you? We've gained accountability. We've gained sensitivity. We've gained awareness. But we've lost something too. And I don't think we're honest enough about that loss. You want to know the realest thing that got said in that barbershop? The thing that would absolutely get everyone canceled today, but was also the truest thing? I can't tell you. Not because I'm protecting anyone, not because I'm scared, but because some things need to stay in 1974. Some conversations need to die with the men who had them. What I can tell you is this: those men were human, flawed, products of their time. They said things that would horrify us today. They also said things that would heal us today, if we could hear them. They were racist sometimes, even against their own people. They were sexist, often. They were homophobic, almost always. They were wrong about a lot of things. They were also wise, protective, community-minded, fighting against a system designed to crush them, finding ways to survive, finding ways to help each other survive. The barbershop held all of that, the good and the bad, the wisdom and the ignorance, the love and the prejudice. All of it mixing together in that warm room with the checkered floor and the creaky leather chairs. I started this telling you about conversations that would get men canceled today. And that's true, they would. But I realize now that the point isn't to judge those conversations by today's standards. The point is to understand that we're losing something important. Spaces where people can be honest, where they can work through difficult things, where they can be wrong and learn and grow without being destroyed. The barbershop wasn't perfect. God knows it wasn't. But it was real. And maybe we need more real and less perfect. Maybe we need spaces where people can say the wrong thing and be corrected with love instead of destroyed with cancel culture. Where growth is possible. Where being human, messy, complicated, evolving is allowed. I miss that barbershop. The smell of it, the sound of it, the feeling of being part of something, of belonging to a community of men who cared about each other, even when they disagreed, even when they were wrong. What was said there would get you canceled today. But what was felt there, what was built there, the bonds, the mentorship, the genuine human connection, we need that today more than ever. We just need to figure out how to have it without the parts that hurt people. And honestly, I don't know if that's possible, but I hope it is. Because the alternative, a world where everyone is so afraid of saying the wrong thing that nobody says anything real at all, that's not a world I want to live in. The barbershop is gone. Those conversations are gone. Those men are mostly gone. But the need for spaces like that, for honest conversation, for male mentorship, for community wisdom, that need is still here, stronger than ever. And we haven't figured out how to fill it. Maybe we never will. But man, I hope we try.